I think it's caring about that kid and their development and having enough touch points, enough familiarity with their parent. Because again, you sign the parent up, you see them at that assessment, and then that's it. So what's that relationship like going through that? So now hopefully they like it, they don't want to leave, but they know logistically it's going to be a problem because they have sport. What's our professional prescription? So it's like, hey, for him to hit these goals and get these results, we recommend this. And that conversation just has to happen, at the right time.
Right. All right, welcome Little Jim Big Heart, my interview series. I am off-site, out of state in Grand Rapids, Michigan, with the one and only Mark Ehnis, founder of Powerstrength Training Systems, who I think is operating one of the highest level gym business in the entire country, if not the world right now. And I don't say that sparingly, I say that genuinely. So I'm really excited for what we're going to talk about today. There's a lot of ways that we can take this. So Mark, thanks for coming on.
Hey, Devin. Appreciate being here. Long time coming. And I don't take those words lightly. So that's kind of our mission of just how can we be the best in the world, if whatever judgment someone wants to use with that, but it's definitely the best in the world for our clients and their experience. So that's kind of how we tailor it. So I'm excited to chat. Again, like I said, been a long time coming.
Yeah. So I've known Mark for 14 years now. We've been running in business mastermind circles and all kinds of things. And I always knew you were an incredible operator, brought a lot of value to the meetings that we were in together and all these things. What was it, August that we came out here originally?
Yeah.
So myself, Jeff, and our other friend Dan flew out here in like August. Yeah. And I was completely blown away by the level of operational, just operations you ran. We knew that you were running a great business, but to see it really legitimately opened my eyes to what is possible when you set a really strong standard. Because I've got a bunch of businesses, like you let little things slip and you kind of just convince yourself that you can't be perfect everywhere. And then, we came out and we were like, wow, there's a lot of meat left on the bone with what we were doing. So just really impressed, man.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate it. Again, that's just kind of we were put on our A game for that. So I was excited to do, but you're right. It's when you grow and expand. Again, we're just about to open our 8th facility. Some things get lost. They get lost in the phase of growth. We call it casualties of war, right? It's the casualties of growth. And it's so important to uphold that standard. I can't repeat it enough. But that's kind of where we're taking things. How do we that's the goal. Like we always say, we lose in 2 ways. We're mediocre or we're forgettable. And Devin today actually just presented to our team on become more memorable and create a lasting impression. And I think the operations side is just like with our coaching style and coaching and our service in general, just can't be mediocre. And so how do we maintain that standard and what systems we put in place to do that?
Yeah. As you millions of listeners out there know, I like to be very tactical in all my episodes, but I think it warrants give a background into how you came up, what brought you here. Why should anybody listen to you? If somebody's listening and they hear me talk about he's running the best gym in the world, every podcast has guests this is the best gym owner in the world. You see the group photos top gym owners in the world. You're really going to learn something today about what it means to run legitimately one of the best businesses in the country.
Yeah. So the short come up story, I guess. Started the business in 2011. I was 24 years old. No really formal business background, but was always hungry to learn, growth mindset, similar to exactly what you have, and found great mentors. So with those great mentors, I had a vision of what I wanted to create. I just wanted to work with athletes, as many of us did back in the day. And then I did it in a really small 1,500 square foot garage. And then it was all right, I want to dominate that, be the best in the world at that, as much as I could. 4 years in, it's all right, it's time to expand. All I wanted to do was expand to one big gym. Yeah. So we went from 1,500 square feet to 10,000 square foot facility. That's where I kind of grew up. And that's where we had to grow up and put our big boy business hat on. And my role completely changed. And interestingly enough, I was just reflecting on this. That was 10 years ago. We moved from that garage to our first 10,000 square foot facility. So since then, we've opened up 8 of them, and they've all been either construction projects or full remodels. So amidst all that growth, it was just scale from there. Like, wasn't really planning on it. They'll be like, you always think you wanted to do this? No, I didn't. But that was kind of the whole purpose of be really great at this, and then probably take that next step before you think you're ready, because that's always happens. We have to make decisions with incomplete information.
Right.
I think that's part of business ownership, and something I learned along the way, and something I was doing even before I knew I was doing it. But then again, opened up our third one at the height of COVID, 2020, August of 2020.
Yeah.
Let's go expand and do that. We saw an opportunity there, so we opened that of January of 21, and since then we built opened up our 5th one since then. So we built our 4th one. We built our 5th one a year later. Just moved in a year later after that to our Byron Center location where we're filming this today. And then what's next is like, okay, we can continue this athlete adult model, which what all these big facilities are. They're all in that 8 to 12,000 square foot range. And then now we are expanding our youth programs. That's a really near and dear to my heart. I'm passionate about that, kind of going full circle here. And I say youth, I mean like 1st through 7th grade.
Yeah.
Because we always had a youth program, but we only have one time slot for it, right? And that's just getting to the operations of how do you run athlete adult models. So we expanded 2 facilities near a couple of our other spots that we just opened. We're opening them back to back. We just opened one literally last week, and then we're opening another one in 3 weeks. And so those are both new buildings that we remodeled and are about to launch as well. So
new business model.
Pretty much new business model, yeah.
Yeah. So
an expansion of what we're currently doing.
Give a break. Yeah. So you've got 5 or 6 of
six
main locations. Yep. And I want to make sure I make the point. As Mark was coming up and we were coming up, like we all had these like hybrid, like the athlete, adult, large group, small group, these models. And all of us, like all of the people in our circle were like, we're going small group personal training because it's simpler, it's easier, it's less overhead. And Mark was like, no, I'm good. He's like, why would I change what works? And we were trying to talk him out of it over the years. Like, you got to simplify. You should make the smaller model thing leaner, more overhead. And he just kept popping up these big monster facilities, 8 to 12,000 square feet. And we just watched him fill them up.
I mean, and I think it's the same thing. I stood up in our first mastermind. I'm not sure if you were there. Probably, I don't think you were there or not. And this was back in, when I had the small garage, and they're like, you got to do adults at a 6 a.m. and do all this stuff. And I'm like, I'm good with this. We're not yet. We're not ready for that yet. And for me, it works. And I do think there's a difference between complicated versus complex. So I think our model is very complex. It can be complicated. It used to be complicated, but we've been able to simplify some things. So there's a lot of things operationally that have to look the same for athletes and adults. Because in these big facilities, we go to a larger because they're all separated by a wall, like a physical wall. So you can have basically 2 gyms under one roof that we can cater now. We can control as much of the environment as possible. Right. I think that's a really important point to make. So again, we opened our 8th facility, but I think we actually have 15 different training spaces within those facilities, and they're all they're all outfitted as well. So that's a huge distinction, because I think a big thing is like, hey, add a kids class or train some athletes when adults aren't in there. I don't like that advice at all. I think it's a different model, it's a different marketing, it's a different staffing, and your operational systems have to match that, and you have to be all in on it. And our facilities are built for that model. We were very clear on what we wanted to do. Yeah, it's a little more risk. It's way more overhead, but it's also got a lot higher upside. And fun fact too, our goal too, if you're going to do it, the ultimate stability, the ultimate advantage, I think, the knock against athlete training is what? Like an athlete seasonality. It's part-time in the afternoons. Like, I lived that early on. It was okay because overhead was low. I didn't need to make much. But then I was like, I want to have careers for my people. What does it need to look like? Yeah, we'll start adding in adults. Well, if we want to do that well, then you really have to master that too. So we're a straight 50-50 revenue split now, which is obscene across.
Yeah, that's crazy.
That I think I'm really proud of that number and that goal, because it provides that stability. And then within that is the athlete model itself. start off like most. Like I trained football kids as a
Right.
football coach. Like, okay, then the fall dips down and then you try to get them back and all that. We've been able to diversify those athlete demographics as well,
Yeah.
right? So I think that's really important to get into the weeds on that. And then going back to the new model on the athlete front with the youth stuff, it's kind of the same thing we've been running. It's still small group. It's still that same demographic, that same age range,
Right.
but we're able now to just offer more time slots, which is the biggest limiting factor.
Yeah.
But we have it going back to that part-time model. But the metrics make sense. Like
Yeah.
the numbers
Well,
make sense.
Let's talk, because we were talking. There's so many things
Yeah.
we could talk about. I think you've mastered the athlete adult
Mm-hmm.
model, because listen. The truth is, people that want to go the athlete route, most of the time, they either add adults to just buffer that income
Mm-hmm.
and that buffer for that seasonality. A lot of them, I would say most of them, eventually just go all adults, because they're like,
Yeah.
I just can't handle the swings. That's what we did.
Yeah.
I mean, I wanted
Yeah.
to train athletes, and then we started adults, and I was like, wow, this is a
Yeah.
lot. It's a lot
Yeah.
easier
Yeah.
to not have to deal with these swings and seasonality. But you've committed to locking down. So I think the education is
Mm-hmm.
if somebody wanted to go that full
Yeah.
all in on the
Yeah.
athlete adult model, how does the gym have to operate? What are the non-negotiables?
Yeah.
Where do people make mistakes? So
In no particular order.
yeah,
Here's
well,
what-
let's
here's what
start
I'll
with
say.
just
Yeah.
what's the
Yeah.
big picture
Yeah.
operationally. What has to be real to, if somebody were to like, I want to own that athlete adult model?
You have to have a space. You have to have enough space to do both
Yeah.
well. Because you're still going to offer. You still need to offer adults in the
What does the
afternoon.
space need to look like?
I prefer it being. I try to eliminate as much obstacles and distractions as possible. So it can be done. I know people that can do it, but in a perfect world here, and if I could build the buildings, which we've done for this exact reason, is I would want as much control over the space as possible.
divider.
Not having athletes and adults interacting as much. So same thing, adults poke in like, oh, that's cool. Let's see the kids doing that. But I don't want to work out with them. I don't listen to their music, and I
Yeah.
want them watching me.
And
And it's
listen,
vice versa,
Just,
Yeah.
I want to emphasize that, like, a lot of the complaint that we get, because we have a separate room for our kids, but like kids going through the
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
adult section,
Yep.
get a couple grumbles.
Yep.
Adults, when people bring their kids and the kids are messing around on the floors,
Yeah.
like, we get complaints.
Yeah. So I think that's the biggest thing. And then it's like, well, I don't have that. I'm like, well, then maybe you should reconsider or figure out how to make it work, because because the second thing I think is you have to become a master at both markets and serving
Right.
both markets, which means mastering marketing for both.
So I want to stick on big picture
Yeah.
facility design.
Yeah.
Open space versus like pod structure,
Mm-hmm.
because you have very open like turf space.
Yep.
If you're going to train the athlete adult model, listen, let's say most people, they have one room.
Yeah.
Is there even a layout that you can run that you're like, athletes train here? What does the gym have to look like?
I'm just going off of guys I know that have done it, because I never had to do this.
Yeah.
Is they'll have, hey, split some rubber, some turf. They kind of go evenly, so I can do my rubber or rack work, and I can do stuff that needs to be on the turf.
Yeah.
And that's it. I mean, that's as simple as you can go. But then it's just a numbers game. How big is the space? How many bodies can we
Right.
fit in? Does it even make sense to try to do both, or do I just hitch my wagon to one or the other?
Is there something to, in your opinion, as the expert, you need this much square footage for athlete training?
I think it's not necessarily about the square footage. It is about the straightaway.
Right.
Because our big thing was like, we used to run outside. Like we had to run outside, and thank goodness, hopefully it didn't rain, or hopefully training looked different in the wintertime up here in Michigan. So I think I want to be able to run, and that was part of I wanted the big facility so I can get everything I needed to create the best results possible. And to us, that was straightaway. So that's why you come to our facilities. We need at least. We had at least 90 to 100 feet straightaways at all of our facilities to be able to do that. And then it's just a matter of how much width can you support. So I think that's a big one. Now, can it be done with less? Yes, it can. But again, anyone who's listening that trains athletes is like, dude, you're going to want to be able to run and do some stuff, let alone fit enough bodies in there, which is kind of leads me to that second point too. Like from a price point standpoint, because our bread and butter, like we do everything small group. So our athletes and adults, same small group programming.
Yeah.
So you need to have, like we don't just stack them in there with 20 kids, but also if we did have 20 kids, we'd have at least three coaches on,
Yeah.
or probably four. So, yeah.
I think transitioning to that, like, let's get clear on your model. You are small group through and through, even with athletes. You're the only person that I know that does athletes that
challenging.
way.
It's challenging because you have to be rigid because it's the seasonality of it too. Like just like us, we're busy with it, and it's challenges comes from the staffing front. So it's like I need a coach from December, January, February in the afternoons. I need an extra coach, I should say. And then in maybe March, April, May, I really don't. But in the summer, I do. So it's that constant influx. So if you're going to run this model, you need to be able to have and this is I think one of the most important pieces now. And I've done this the hard way, and there is ways to go about it. But uniform role structure for what we just call like a hybrid coach.
Right.
So if we want to be the best in the world, we expect that of our coaches as well. The best coaches in the world, to me, can coach anyone. They can coach the spectrum. So they can coach that youth athlete all the way to the 75-year-old, right? So our coaches can do that, and we expect that. We look for that. We onboard for that. And because it also allows them more of a flexible scheduling options where they're not just working split after split shift or, hey, I need you every afternoon. It gives them more flexibility, which creates longer careers for them as well. So we've been able to, through, again, trial and error. Again, if any of this sounds like wisdom, it's been born out of pain. I love that quote because it's like, it's true. Like we figured all this out, and we're still learning too. But finding those coaches that really want to do both, but also capable of doing both. Because I also think it mixes up their day. That's what our coaches that are the best at this. They're like, yeah, it's different for me. Like from I can coach a couple of sessions of athletes, I can coach adults, and I'm good to go. So that's a huge piece. So if you have space, you have actual model with I would mix pricing.
Is it 6-1 for
athletes? High school we go 7-1, and for small group adults we go 6-1.
Okay.
And then for our youth it's up to 10.
Okay.
Depends, but we usually have another assistant in there
so
too.
So programming model, is it workout of the day style modified, or is it individual programs?
Right in the middle.
What's the way you're facilitating?
We have it tiered based on our assessment intake process.
Okay.
We have different levels of programming for athletes and adults. We try to, I think it's an important point to make, is our athlete and adult system, really even client journey, sales process, assessment process is almost identical.
Right.
The difference with athletes is that you have to involve the parent, right, in the decision-making process. So, but once their membership is locked in, we allocate them. We know exactly where we're starting them, which level of programming we have, and then we adjust up or down based on the coach's decision. But also those are built-in regression progressions as well.
But when the kid comes in or the parent comes in, are they having a paper program?
No.
Is it a
No.
software?
Good question. Coach runs it off a clipboard. So we've been able to, which sounds archaic, and I mean, again, we have pretty big facilities and big business and a lot of members. So all the tech people and all the software people they want to sell me all this stuff. And I'm telling you, we still track data, we still track performance, and we're really good with client and parent touch points and feedback, and tracking those results like you have to be. But within our system, how simple can we make it? Like I said, it can be complicated, but it doesn't have to be complex. Sorry, it can be complex, but it doesn't have to be complicated. So how do we do that? We make it look very identical. So the coach is running that program off the clipboard. We have it laid out 4 weeks at a time. We meet and talk about it weekly with the whole staff. So there's no differentiation between you go to this facility and I go to this facility.
Right.
It is the same structure. And we say there's 10% buffer. 10% is going to be personalities of the coaches, and we want that, but it needs to look the same. That's why I think fitness franchises fail. I think fitness franchises, they just get into the weeds a little bit. They have the same brand, but not the same experience. That to me is a long-term business killer. So how can we have that branding across multiple locations to a very, very high standard? And because we are structured this way, it allows that to happen.
All right, so just to recap, you've got the physical space. Ideally, you would separate the athletes and adult spaces.
Yep.
You want to have a straightaway for the kids. Programming, you do 6-1. Programming is purely run by the coach. Is that so there's no board where you walk in and people are.
It's not very personalized, so it's still personal. Again, it's personal training. So again, I think we've been able to develop the system, but then we give latitude to the coaches and again, my director of training, Skylar Davis, has been with me for 13 years. He's a genius with this stuff. I got regional man Derek, my twin brother, Brian, Cam. Like my leadership has been with me on average. Out of 9 of them, they went average of over I think 7 years, 8 years on average. So that's the root of our success. But they also uphold the standard as well. But also like our process for ending these new coaches, like they got to be signed off on this, and they have a lot of latitude to make adjustments because I think the best coaches make adjustments, as we know. So how do they do that within the system? And based on their coaching, development, those guardrails can look a little bit different. And I think we've been able to refine that and systematize that really well, especially the last year and a half as we've grown really fast.
Yeah. So you're essentially treating them like the same type of business, same client journey, same programming. Because a lot of people fail to succeed in growing both. Whether they're like so athlete heavy that adults are like, I don't know, that doesn't look like something for me. Or they're so adult heavy that they don't even know you train athletes. If somebody were to run with this model, how do you grow both?
I would say you grow one really well first. But I also think, like, when did you start athletes? Like, when we started adults, about a year and a half in, and we've always had them, but that just looked so different until we just said we got married to the model of small group. And we've been doing the small group model now for over like about 10 years. So we were early adopters of that. And again, if they didn't see other athletes, so we still have that now too. Oh, you train adults too or athletes too? Like we still have that depending on what we're doing. And I think it's just like, to me, it's like nail one first. And then if you're going to do the other one, like do it really, really well and try to make as many similarities and parallels as you possibly can.
Yeah.
But again, it gets complex because they are two different, we view them as two different businesses,
right.
Two marketing plans, two sales pipelines, two everything, everyone's got different roles. Like just because they're similar, they are different. So it is operating two businesses under one roof.
So let's talk about that, because you have even leadership structure. Every location, you've got an adult coordinator and an athlete coordinator.
Yes.
What's the responsibilities there for those people?
We have a regional manager. Start more at the top. We have our HQ, so we function as one. So we have all of our HQ personnel, which we've been able to kind of scale, especially as we've grown. Really, the last 5 years, we've really been able to solidify this. Now then, going on to the regional manager, and the regional manager oversees really 2 to 3 facilities. They are based out of one of those facilities, physically based out of one of those. Right. So they're usually sitting in that facility leader seat at one of those facilities. And we have facility leaders we have a facility leader box at every single one of those facilities. Right. And then so underneath
the regional managers, they are a facility leader of their own facility.
As of right now, yes.
And they own to have responsibility over a couple of
Yes. And again, we've tried to simplify this even further. So then we have our coordinators at each location, and we try to there's at least one at each location. We have varying levels of those and responsibilities for those. Typically, it comes with sales. Are they actually doing calls and in-person consults? And then they're coaching in that program, primarily coaching in that program. Right. All of them can go coach. So my athlete coordinator can coach a shift or 2 of adults. Right. Like that's built into their role, and they know that and expect that. But when they're on that session, just because they lead the athlete program, when they're on that session, they're a number 2 or a number 3. They're getting direction from someone else, which is usually the athlete.
So what's the difference in responsibilities between the facility leader and the coordinator? Not
much. The facility leader, because usually our facility leaders also, if they're not a regional manager, they will sit in one of those coordinator seats. The facility leader is just they're the first call. They have a little more responsibility for the actual facility, and just little things like that. Like they're the ones that are, that just, I think the flow of communication is so vital. So we've been able to address that, where this is who you go to for this is who you go to for that. They just have a little more responsibility, but they're almost even with the on the coordinator.
It's an important point. All of this is to say you can have a person that sits in multiple seats, but you cannot have a seat with multiple people in it.
True.
That's kind of one of the rules of like building an organizational chart, and I think that's something that people overlook.
Yes,
because they have one person or too many responsibilities shared by multiple people, and I think
Well, to speak to
probably
that,
have different
to speak to that, yeah,
job descriptions and
yes,
KPIs
yes,
for each role. So you bolt them together.
yeah,
Like you're the facility leader. This is your coordinator job. This is your coaching
yes.
job.
And we break it down by checklists, even of just do this on
Yep.
this day. But for the best thing we've done, and I would just encourage people to adopt this, it's not just necessarily for that role. It's like we built the athlete coordinator role off what's best for the athlete program.
Right.
So whether I have 50 kids in the program or 200, it's still the same. This is what's needed. And then some of the KPI metrics might change just based off the volume that you need to do. But we've had 2 or 3 coordinators in each program if needed based on the number of members that we have at that location. So you still have your top one, we call it level 3, and then they might have a level 2, 2 level 2s or two level 1s, but there's other people that they have like number 2 and 3 in that program that they help share the load to basically run that program, coach the majority of it, but also reach out to members as well.
Okay.
And then here's the thing too, I'll address this. This sounds like, oh, got that all figured out. We opened 5 facilities in the last 3 years. And then before that, we opened 8 in the last 10. At one point in time, this is all mumble jumbled. I think the important thing is how often we were reviewing this and making changes, I think. And I like doing this stuff now. So if someone's like, that's not right for me, it doesn't need that identified. I'm in every seat, which I was in every seat at one point in time. But over time, just like quarterly basis, whatever big change happens, we're reviewing this constantly. You have to because, again, we get some things get lost in growth mode. They get lost in the fog. Again, the fog of just, we're not sure where to go. And my advice is always like, you just got to get in the right direction and take that next step. You're not going to see the whole path, right?
The next imperfect step.
Yeah, so then it's just like, it's good for now. And I think one thing we've done really well is how do we rally the leaders around that and to get that same mindset and understanding. I think that's really important. That's what we've been able to do. And so that carries over down to these exact roles, you know. So the more defined the roles are, the easier it is to hire, the easier it is to paint that picture for their career or even that next step of development. I always tell folks too, because I sit in the first interview and every single time. I still own that process for that first interview because I like I love that part of it. I like that. But I also want to see, my job is to not just hire them, is to actually see at least the next step or two. And if I can't do that for them, I don't hire them. But the role structure allows us to happen.
So back to kind of the model, somebody wants to run this athlete adult model. What's the marketing that's needed for that?
So imagine what you're doing at the engaged locations. Yeah. So that's similar with the adult side, right? Again, 2 different marketing plans, 2 different marketing calendars, different seasonalities, different cadences for that, internal versus external. So just like externally, we're going to run some digital ads. We're doing some joint ventures. Internally, we have a really high retention rate. So we're trying to do a lot of stuff internally to, different events and different challenges and a lot of that. That's pretty basic. It's really just, that's simple, I think. The athlete, coming from an athlete background where it's complicated, I think that's just really simple to do. Athlete-wise, it is, you have to know the seasons. You have to know the calendar inside and out.
So talk about that.
Yeah.
What does that look like from a macro level? Because this is something that we've struggled with. We're like, oh shit, seasons are ending. Like, how do you time that? Like, what's the strategy? Do you do open enrollment? Do you do block scheduling? Is it?
Good question. And teach their own.
So let's get clear on definitions. The difference between some people run block scheduling where it's like, basically you're running quarters or seasons of athlete performance. We're like, hey, we have a 12-week program we're enrolling in. The goal is 100 kids. It starts on this date, it ends on this date. Versus what we do is just, if your kid wants to sign up, you can join the program and whatever. So what's your opinion?
We do that. So it's ongoing. There's no blocks.
Do you have is that just what you've done? Do you have a strong preference for that? Is there an opinion there, or is it just?
I think it just removes friction. So if you do blocks, you always gonna have people like, well, I missed it. We'll get the next one.
And let's be real.
And anyone will sign them up anytime and just prorate it. So it actually is a system. It actually makes your system a little more complex because then how do I? Again, we're talking not just one facility. One facility you can get away with a lot. Right. You really can. We're doing this across 6. It needs to be really defined. What's the process for this? Or I lost an athlete coordinator and I got somebody else sitting in that seat. Like I gotta be able to onboard and develop that person for what's needed. And if I constantly just change it, I don't stick to what we say, That makes my job a little harder,
Right.
which also ultimately affects the experience and hurts our brand, and then we become more like that franchise, right? So, so that's being mediocre, right? And that makes us forgettable. So it is like we just do it because like it's, hey, yeah, we're signing up. This is when let's get started, you know, and go from there, and try to keep that really simple. So going back to your question though, like you have to plan. Oh, like everyone says, oh, I plan for that season change. You have to plan a lot earlier than you think,
Right.
and you have to do a lot of the extra work. So like right now, we're in our busiest time of the year. Summer is the most athletes, but
You're
right
listening,
now, yeah, it's in
we're
February.
We're
Yeah,
early February 2026.
we're the heart of the winter. So we have more kids training more frequently. In the summer, we have more bodies, but they don't train as frequently because they're busy with other things. But so we have to be even more proactive during the busiest time of the year. And sometimes the people just aren't that organized to do it.
Right.
And I think that's it, like just getting out of the head of it. Then how do you systematize that to keep it personal, to keep it more prescriptive, you know? And that's where it's like, well, we have.
Well, so when you say get out ahead of it, what does that mean?
Like we start for the season change that happens in March. We talk about this in January.
So, but who are you targeting? It's kind of what I'm
Parents.
getting at is like
Parents and kids.
But the parents of what? So it's February. Are you targeting? You're not targeting spring sport athletes because they're going into the season.
We're trying to convert them because over 2/3 of our athletes play spring sports up here in Michigan.
Right.
Yeah.
So you're targeting winter athletes that are finishing. They're going to be in the off season.
Good question to get into the weeds. Our biggest objective is to go get those kids that are already with us to stay with us.
Right.
Sell them an in-season pack because it's our in-season here in the spring in Michigan is a couple months. As long as we maintain that relationship, we can hit the ground running in the summer. So that's almost our biggest thing. So even those
biggest
winter
thing is keeping the winter athlete, the kids that are training with you now,
keeping them for their spring sport, yeah.
Let's talk
Because
about
even the
that.
kids coming in the winter season, they basically play. Most of them play spring sports as well. And your winter sports aren't that volume is not that high. Wrestling and basketball, pretty much on the male side. And,
Yeah, there's 5 guys.
yeah,
in the
and then
court at a time.
and if basketball, then they'll go play AAU. So they're still kind of in that season mindset. So we just kind of keep the people we have.
How?
Yeah.
Because that's
That's
again,
what
we run
yeah,
athletes.
yeah.
The hardest thing to do is keep kids while they're in the
I
season.
think it starts literally at the first conversation, and setting those expectations of like what's going to happen when they go in season, and then maintaining that relationship because you could be talking.
But let's get specific. This is a tactical podcast, Mark. I know you like to keep some things close to the
broad, yeah.
What is that conversation?
It is simple though. It is. I'm not trying to like withhold anything because you can know it. You got implementation's another thing.
Right.
Execution's everything. I think it's caring about that kid and their development and having enough touch points, enough familiarity with their parent. Because again, you sign the parent up,
Yeah.
you see them at that assessment, and then that's it. So what's that relationship like going through that? So now hopefully they like it, they don't want to leave, but they know logistically it's going to be a problem because they have a sport. What's our professional prescription? So it's like, hey, for him to hit these goals and get these results, we recommend this. And that conversation just has to happen, you know, at the right time.
Right.
And that's kind of where we are preparing that. So we know exactly who to talk to and when and what their
So you're sitting them down with the parent, and if we're all just like, hey, listen, little Johnny wants to play in high school. Here's the truth.
Yeah.
In high school, they're going to expect him to train year round. Our goal is to prepare him for that. When the season comes, we really see the best kids like maintain some sort of training schedule.
Yeah.
Is that kind of how the conversation goes?
Yeah. I mean, it's usually at that point. It's either an email or a phone call.
Yeah.
And we have different
And
options.
it's way ahead of the time when parents are freaking
at
out.
least,
Because,
yeah.
So I
We
think
do get a little bit of like, well, we don't know his schedule yet. So then you have to expect that. Again, we're going to year 15 here. So we weeded some stuff out. Yeah, we expect that. But then it comes down to just make a good offer. Make a good offer so they can't say no. Then
what kind of offer are you talking about?
it could be a more of a flex. So right now we're getting to that, like, you know, hey, you're coming, we're on a 4-week billing cycle. So, hey, you're coming 8 sessions in that 4 weeks or 12 sessions. Like that's a typical model most people run, right? So now we can even run more of a free, like a session pack. Hey, use these at any time during these.
Yeah.
And as long as that's laid out very clearly, it's usually like, all right, yeah, thanks for the flexibility. We'll just keep going because we love it.
Do you push year 12-month contracts?
No,
So it's
everything's month to month. But yeah,
So because that's where we run into it with our athletes, where people are just like, just take me out, I'll come back after the season.
Yeah.
So I mean, it takes skill to present that to a parent, and
it does.
Yeah.
It does, and it's just kind of like there's some scarcity and some longevity and some scarcity and some just early bird stuff that you can run and all that. But at the end of the day, like the consumer these days is pretty smart, as we know. Like you can't replace the authenticity.
Right.
So if you truly care and they're truly getting good results, and you want what's best for them,
Who's having that
shines
conversation?
through. The athlete coordinator, facility leader.
Got it.
Yep. Initially, it's just kind of like, hey, you're a spring sport athlete. Here you go. And then they need more individual
So
stuff.
the coordinator
that.
gets to know the athlete, goes to the parent, and they're like, hey, have a chance to work with your kid the last couple of weeks. Just wanted to talk about their development. Maybe it's a progress report.
Yep.
I want to talk about their development. I think they're really strong. They can play varsity next year. Here's what I would really recommend. I know the season's coming up. It's going to get crazy. I want to make sure they're staying in once a week.
Yeah.
I like that.
Pretty much, yeah.
So take notes, my athlete guy, if you're watching.
Yeah, and it's just, that's a key, again, so then if you can maintain that, we're not going to keep everybody. But our goal, we keep about 85% training in season.
Right.
I mean, and it fluctuates 80 to 90%. Season between the seasons is a little bit different. And here's the thing too, training athletes, like that is, people get fatigued with that. So every couple months I got to resell. Every couple months I got to do this. Every couple months, yeah, you do. That's the model. If you don't want to do it, then don't train athletes.
Yeah.
It's kind of like a coach who comes to me like, I want to work with athletes. All right, you know the athlete schedule. It's like basically
Late nights,
ours is like
weekends.
3 to 8:30 and Saturday mornings. We even close on Sundays. Like we could crush it on Sundays, but we don't. Oh yeah, fine. Oh, you sure you want to do that? Like you sure? Every night you're in the gym. And I think that just wears on people too.
And
so,
the other thing with that is most athlete-only jobs are not full-time jobs.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
you can't get a 40-hour salary position just coaching 3 hours every evening.
Pretty much, yeah.
So you need to buffer that with some adult training. I don't know what your model dictates, but do you have your athletes coaches coaching adults?
Yeah.
So then it becomes, do you know that you're going to be working till 8:30 every night and then on weekends, and you're going to have to do some early mornings every now and then?
Yep. And we again, the schedule's the holy grail, as you know. It's one of my favorite things to say with session offerings, but also staffing. So we try to do the best we can with that.
Yeah.
And it looks way different now. Don't get me wrong. Some of the early guys, like, holy cow, like, I don't know how they did it. And that's why the guys I had that did it, like, they know.
Yeah.
And it's, in
their
toolbox, and they're just grizzled vets, but nowadays it's like, all right, this is what's the best role for that. Or if they do have, I'll say this too, because the more responsibility they do have with managing the program, selling the program, this is for adult coordinators too, like that has to be adjusted with their floor hours, right? With their coaching hours. We've done, hey, you can handle all this. You're new to it. We're going to give you this new role. That's awesome. We've been able to elevate you. Learn these new skills. You're learning new skills as you go, but you're also maintaining that coaching level. And by the way, make sure you uphold that coaching standard. That's a recipe for disaster, Or if you're going to do it, how do we insulate that a little bit further to make sure they're really good and they have the right support behind them?
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
That's huge, because otherwise you're just going to run people on the ground and all that. So,
touching on just that coach's schedule, what is the average maybe coordinator or full-time coach schedule look like in your business?
those are two different questions. So our coordinators are typically, again, it prefaces by depends on the season, depends on the location, and what the team around them looks like at the time. And you got to remember too, like sometimes this facility could be a year old, and this facility is 5 years old, and they're mature. So that dictates some.
Question is, what is the expectation set at for like during across the year, the average? You would want to prepare a coach to be doing this schedule.
They're in that most coordinators in that 22 to 26 hour range on the coaching. And if you're a hybrid coach, you're in that, and they're full-time hybrid coach, you can be in that 25 to 28 range.
Yeah.
Sometimes going up to 30. But our coaches are not coaching 40 sessions a week at our standard, at our level. Again, I think some guys could, but just our schedule alone, that means they're working probably four split shifts, and that's not something that we want to.
So you're capping them out at 28 coaching hours.
I don't really cap them. It just kind of depends. Like we're just taking that into account, though. Yeah.
So what else are they doing? What are they doing? Because they're doing probably a lot of things. But what is the checklist of this is your responsibility that we measure?
For like a hybrid coach?
Yeah.
They're coaching. They're doing we do a lot of them the pre-shift run, which is a whole different conversation in itself to prepare for those sessions. So you have your pre and post shift stuff. You have your
What's the time commitment on that? 30 minutes?
usually about 30 minutes total.
Yeah.
But it's every day before every shift. You know, you do have your member touch points that you have to just what's needed all like every week, and what's needed upcoming week.
So is that text messages?
Could be text, could be phone calls, could be emails. We pay if they're sitting in meetings. We try to limit that, but it's always probably combined hour and a half to 2 hours worth of meetings.
Okay.
And then usually a facility item or two that they're responsible for. So if someone's coaching 28 sessions, like that gets pretty up to full time really quickly.
What's a facility expectation? Cleaning?
It could be cleaning, organizing.
Yeah.
Just something very minimal. Hey, hang up those pictures, or hey, we got new inventory for this. It's just you're just around, and it's stuff that's like we account for, even though it's not like, you know, set in
doesn't live
stone.
on their calendar.
Yeah, like it's just they're there to help out. It needs to get done. They're there to help out.
Yeah.
Again, that's really minimal. And that coordinator is sitting in that, like I said, that 22 to 26 range. So now they're doing either consults or phone calls, working the sales pipeline. So if they're heavy into that, they're coaching less.
Yeah. All right, cool. So athlete adult model, complex, try not to be complicated. Where do people mess this up? Oh, let me ask one question before we do that.
Yeah.
Get your thinking on that. You mentioned schedule.
Yeah.
What is because we struggle with this because we're so heavy on the adults.
Yeah.
We need all the adult times that we can. We do middle school at 4:30, or sorry, high school at 3:30, middle school at 4:30. Saturday mornings we do a combined session. What is the schedule in order to maintain in-season athletes to facilitate?
Yep.
You know, I think we just added a Tuesday, Thursday, 5:30 p.m. middle school as well because we have more middle school kids. What would be because you've done this so many times, I know that you've got the schedule is optimized.
3:30, 4:30, 5:30, 6:30 every night, minus Fridays.
And is it combined, or do you have middle school, high school?
We had middle school. Well, we had like our youth. We're only at 6:30, but again, sometimes we're running at the same time.
So 3:30, you're doing high school only,
Yep.
and do you do as many kids can sign up? Because this is where like that small group thing gets.
So here's how they screw up. To answer your question, your initial question, where you mess up with the adult athlete model, is this. So how many offerings can you offer? How many coaches you have available at those times?
Yeah.
And side note on this too. So it's like our facilities are the size of like I could have 4 sessions running on one side. I could have 24 kids in there or 28 kids on some of our buildings. Definitely could run 3.
Right.
And I could run 2 or 3 groups on the other side as well.
For the adults.
If I could, yeah.
Yeah.
So like right now, it's like our adults, it used to be 3:30, it was high school athletes only. And now some of our facilities are getting busier on the adult side. So we have a couple days at 3:30 of adults, you know. So this is just the management of this schedule. And we have different systems we put in place to be able to like, hey, we need this many slots, right? It's a pretty simple thing, but it's hard to like gauge in terms of like, and stay disciplined with it. But this is where it breaks down. Well, I need 5 coaches at 3:30. I only need 3 at 4:30. What do I do? And that's where the decisions come in. And that's why I think people just get lost in the weeds. And eventually you lose people and turn them over. Then it's like, well, I need just an athlete coach at these times.
Yeah.
That's a very hard role to fill potentially. Or I just need an adult coach on these times. Maybe that's a little bit easier. But I think it's like same thing. Our athletes are 3:30, 4:30, 5:30, 6:30. Youth is 6:30. But now we could also do high school at that time as well.
Yeah.
Depending on structure. And then adults have grown into 3:30, 4:30, 5:30, and 6:30 as well.
So what, like, because this is where I'm getting lost too.
Yeah.
The only way that we've seen to run it is we have a middle school session, which there's like 20 kids.
Yeah.
It's a cap. It's run large group. High school, we cap at 12 kids. But that's pretty much it.
Yeah.
Like that's kind of our capacity.
Yeah.
So how do you plan for like, you have all these kids that want to come on, do you cap it at, we have 6 total slots, 12 total slots on some days?
Yeah.
And then you have to staff it. Is it flex with staffing? You're like, hey, we need 2
We base off the staff. We base off the staff and season out. Like, so if we have an option, it's like, so the time slot could stay the same, but like, say I'm in the middle of December and I need 3, it could be a triple. It could be 3, it could be 3 coaches on. But in April, it could be a single.
What I'm saying is, like, if I pulled open your scheduling app, Use My Body or something.
Zen Planner, yeah.
Zen Planner. If I pull up your scheduling app, I am a middle school I'm a middle school kid. What does 330 show in terms of open slots?
0.
What about 430?
0.
So middle school, there's no training.
6:30.
6:30 is the only middle school time.
That's why we're expanding to the academies.
How many open spots are at 6:30?
Usually 20.
And is that just for middle school?
Just middle school.
So what about adults? There's a whole other 6:30.
Yep, they have their own schedule.
Got it.
Schedule. Okay. Yep. Again, 2 gyms under one roof.
Right.
So you have 2 schedules as well.
Yeah.
Yep. And then you figure it out. And we made it seem easier than it is, but it is. It can get complex. Here's what screws up. I have a coach that can coach athletes. I have one, but he can't coach adults. I got a coach that can coach adults, but she can't coach athletes.
Yeah.
How does that work? And that's where we've been able to figure out and have to change our hiring and development for that to fit the model. And again, people go wrong because I just need somebody. I got to get off the floor. I just need somebody. We're blowing up. I just need somebody. And then they bend.
Warm body syndrome.
Yeah, and I don't bend anymore.
Yeah.
I'll just shut the session down. And there's times where it's like we're packed over here and there's 2 kids on this side. Well, we need to take it over. Well, for that month it might work, but the next month could look totally different. So you got to be disciplined with what the plan is and know the model and what's expected out of that.
Yeah.
I think it's super important. I think it's where people screw up. To answer your initial question, they have coaches that can't do everything. They can't do it all. They just throw stuff on their schedule, and then here's the thing: you throw stuff on the schedule. Well, we can change it. You think members like change? You adult members like change?
Not at all.
So you have to keep that consistency. Do you think parents read every single email you send down to the T? So if you're constantly changing things, you know what's going to happen with their experience with you. You're going to be unorganized, and then that's be reflective. So one of our core values is be a pro. That also means be a pro with communication, planning, scheduling, and I think staying disciplined with that allows us to function like this.
Yeah. So again, people mess it up by not being disciplined with the schedule. Where else do people mess up the athlete-adult model, in your opinion?
And the athlete model itself is just going me personally, if somebody's like, oh yeah, there's 20 kids someday and 8 the next, and I have one coach in there, and I might have a coach assistant if the group is busy, and there's no set structure with it, and the kid doesn't know what to expect every time, you're just doomed to fail.
Yeah.
I want competitors to do that. That's right. There's just you're never going to win, and you're never going to be able to charge enough to make the athlete model work.
So let's talk the pricing model.
Yeah.
If you're open to that.
Yeah, because I don't think I know all of them because it might fluctuate a little bit, but
same pricing across the board?
Yeah.
Adults and athletes?
No, little bit. There's a little bit of fluctuation.
Okay.
But we're in that we're in that $2 to $400 range between 8 and 12.
Right.
16, I think, is up at the mid fours. But again, most of our athletes are in that 8 to 12, so they're in that 300 to 375.
4-week billing?
4-week billing, yep.
Yeah.
So try to keep it as simple as possible. We're not charging the highest rates. For 1 to 7, it's like, holy cow, you could charge way more. Yeah, we could.
But your volume, I mean, that's
do I want volume?
Do
I want volume where I'm like, oh, just go high ticket, just to charge more. Their kid's leaving. He's going to be there. It's not like he's going to retain over and over again.
Right.
And I think there's a little correlation to adults with that as well. You just need this many members in your group, and that works for some. But adults, they're leaving too. So how do I kind of make it where it's sustainable enough, or volume enough? Again, we have big places, so the only limiting factor we have is if we want to put our coach on or not.
Right.
And then we're just matching payroll to earning potential really with those slots.
So it's funny because you really are flying in the face of what most of the advice is like that gray middle of you're not charging the highest ticket and you're not doing the low ticket volume boot camp rates, which everybody advises against that.
Yeah.
But you found a way to make it work.
Here's how you make it work. I have 2 programs, so they balance each other out.
Right.
So I can still go small group adults and still be more of in our area, it's still more of a premium.
Yeah, it's true. That's economic model is also, that's one thing we've talked about.
Yeah.
His average revenue per member is lower than a lot of our gyms, but in Western Michigan,
works.
I think
It's higher. It's it's behind, or the education isn't there.
I think a lot of it has to do with the rent payment. What percentage of your revenue goes to rent? You've got lower rent payments. The numbers would blow you away.
Yeah.
In some markets.
We're at 15%.
Yeah.
That's my number. 15% rent to revenue.
Yeah.
And so all these big buildings, which actually,
can we talk about just how to structure your model around that? Because this is, everyone's like, well, how much do I charge? Or how much should I pay in rent?
I'll try my best on this. Mine is a little bit in hindsight, and I put these things in place, are we good? And that's the guardrails I need.
Yeah, because the question I get asked a lot is how do I know what I can afford in rent? my opinion is like, whatever you expect your top line revenue to be, no more than 15% of that. So, and then you have to adjust your pricing. If you're a small group model, is your pricing aligned with that?
Yeah.
Because if that projection is like, oh shit, you need to charge $600 a month, you couldn't do that.
Or be full all the time.
Yeah.
Or have a top line. Yeah. So I mean, that's spot on. I've heard up to 20, 10 to 20. I'm a little more conservative.
Up to 20, I've heard. There's a big name that does 20. But I think that's in like tier 1 markets where you're charging $1,000 a month per client.
Yeah. So for us, it just kind of works, and if I'm okay, so that number to me is more important when I look to expand.
Yeah.
And because we have some that are much higher than the others, and so that collectively it balances out.
Right.
All these locations function as one business. So at the end of the day, I'm just looking at the company overall.
Yeah.
And that's what works. Now, if we don't open another location and we start to mature, I'm still good because I'm catering this to a conservative revenue number as we grow and uptick on that. So it's just kind of things you have to put in place as an owner to be like, yeah, I can live with that risk.
Yeah.
Or that's a calculated risk. I'm good with that. And then I feel a little uneasy. All right, if I feel uneasy, maybe the same. I'm more of an analytical. Like if I feel uneasy, just give me some time with the spreadsheet.
Yeah.
And then I find a way with the data. The data dictates decisions. Data dictates development.
Yeah.
So the development of programs, but also development of your roles and your people.
Yeah.
All that data tells us that, And so it's just like you feel anxious, then spend some time with the numbers, with the data. And then if you don't know where to look, that's your question. That's where we've always had different mentors and then now each other to like, where should I be looking for this? You need to look here. Oh, thanks for telling me that. And I'm not stressed anymore. And now there it is. Like, I think people fail with this model too because they get really prideful or egotistical. Yeah. And like, it's so.
At the end of the day, I think in our industry as a whole, pride and ego.
Yeah. Well, here's the thing too. We learned that early on too because we've seen people come and go. And when you're 15, 14 years in, it's like, all right, what's going to take you to the next 15 years? It's the same thing I've been doing. We always say, like, we're category 1. We view ourselves that way. We want to be the best in the world, like we mentioned, but we compete like we're in second place.
Yeah.
We always do, like always. So that second place mentality is like, great, like we had a great quarter. It doesn't mean the next quarter is going to be like that. Right? We had a bad quarter. Okay, what do we have to do to improve it? Because I don't want to live like this again. And then you just have to keep up with the trends. Because I'll also say this, the athlete model looked way different when I first started 15 years ago than it does now. Even the last 5 to 10 years looks way different. And
for anybody listening, I think that's it. Like, take that, stand on the shoulder of giants. Like, I would just pick up where you left off with the advice and the structure and the operational, what you're doing. Like, I wouldn't try to, if what you're doing right now is different from what you're hearing, I would advise you to take this and really look to apply it versus trying to keep a model that you probably have run and like decided that it didn't work. And
I mean, I like to each their own. Again, that's the beauty of entrepreneurship and business, but also like the old saying, if you don't have to live it to learn it.
Yeah.
Like, do you want to have another bad season? You want to have, like, do you want to try this and
do you want to spend 5 years struggling
doing that? Yeah.
Do what I'm telling you to do anyway.
And I think too with the athlete model as well, it's like the owner then is on the floor because there's not enough to go around, or there's not enough certainty in the future to go around. So you're going to work on the floor when it's dead, and you're going to work on the floor when it's busy, and you're just going to make it all work. But I've done this where you work so much on the floor, you're not preparing the next step.
Right.
So right now, like I said, this is our busiest time of year, and we're preparing our HQ. Someone is sitting there planning what's going to happen in the end of January into February. What's the next step for all of our marketing, for our whole marketing glove, right? What has to happen for all of these things?
Yeah.
And then guess what? The second March hits where it's already planned out for the spring. While you're on the floor serving sessions, it's fun. Don't get me wrong. Serving sessions is the most fun thing to do, especially for me. I love being in there is the best thing. Not at the cost of what the future potential is going to be. I think that's where people get in their head in the sand.
A wise man once said, "When opportunity knocks, it's too late."
Too late to prepare, you know. So, and it's like, what the? So you missed the season. You missed the boat on a season for athletes. Good luck. Good luck. It's going to take 6 months for it to come back around, and then that's if you work double time and overtime.
Yeah.
You know, and again, if you have a hot thing, then ride it out. You know, but you have to be able to have this multiple streams on the marketing front to be able to do that. Word of mouth. If you want to just go word of mouth, go for it. But it's not fast enough anymore either.
Meta ads are where it's at for you.
Facebook ad, yeah.
Meta,
Yeah. That's where I'm at with it. So meta ads, you have to obviously have. Still need word of mouth. I'm not saying it's important, but you have to grow how we grow with different pockets around town.
You need a predictable.
You have
lead
to have
generate.
something.
Like that's, And when we talk about predictable, like word of mouth, you have zero control over. Yep. You got to hope that people are going to post and talk about you. But meta ads, you know pretty well, like if you put this much money in it, it's going to show up on this many people's feeds, and this many people are going to convert.
I'll say something of this too about on the athlete front. It doesn't matter when we post certain ads, like they might see it and they're not acting on it for another 3 or 4 weeks, which really makes your how you analyze those ads if it's working or not.
It's true.
So then people they pull the ad or they pull the budget, and this is the thing. This is why it's like if there's no reason to be successful, then be successful for this reason only is just keep the faucet on all the time, and then it'll come back around, especially on the athlete front. That's one of the most challenging things because. Yep, they're in a season for 3 more weeks. I saw the ad, I'll earmark it or something, and then I'll come back around. But if they saw the ad, they got busy after the season, kid want to take a week off, then you stop the ad, then they're not seeing anything.
Specifically, they'll see the ad, go to your website, earmark just that. They'll be like, all right, I remember I got to look into Powerstrength. Season ends, and they're like, the ad's not going to guarantee to show up again, so they just go to your website. And then when that happens, you're like, I'm getting all these people on the website. Why should I even run ads? And then they turn the ads off, and then that faucet dries up. So
more.
Yeah,
it is. I think that's exhaust. I think it exhausts people. And so I'll also say this: if you feel exhausted with this, you have a decision to either learn how to do it right or end it, and just let it go, and then focus more on the adult front and go from there. Because adult is more predictable, with 1,000%.
Is there something wrong with you?
No.
Do you have an edge that people don't have?
Yeah.
What I mean is like, are you a glutton for punishment with this stuff? The way you speak about a lot of these things, like, I think you have a tolerance for pain in terms of like, you've embraced this model. I think you've got a tolerance for pain that other people don't have. Yeah, it's a unique advantage. It's a unique ability, but also a unique competitive advantage. Right. Because we will just outlast. And I talk to my leadership about this too, and they've stayed with me. We'll just outlast, Same thing happened during COVID. Guys, we're going to shut down. We're good. We're financially good. We have a good plan for this. We're built for this. We have big spaces. Yeah. We have small group stuff. They schedule ahead of time. Like, this is it. There's going to be a cleansing. People are going to go down and be panicking about this. Yeah. We went and got invested in the building and renovated it and opened during the back half of COVID. Yeah. And elevated 11 people by doing so internally, by the way. Do you think that's a luxury given by the success that you've had, or do you think anybody can have that mindset?
Nobody can have that. Everyone can have that mindset. I think it's innate, but it's like the confidence also came from we were 9 or 10 years in business when that happened. Right. So like just by staying in the game and constantly moving forward, constantly enhancing your skills.
It's going to be okay.
You have to. Yeah, it's business. Yeah. Like one of our old mentors used to say, guys, it's kind of like football. Like you're going to get tackled. Why do you get upset and get tackled when you got the ball? Yeah. Like that stuck with me. So of course. We got thrown a curveball. Of course, that staff member left you. Of course, we had a bad quarter of leads. Of course, we didn't convert that. It doesn't matter.
Expect it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, so what are you going to do about it? And I think that's the key thing too. When this stuff happens, there's a lesson in everything. How do we make it even better? And I'm still in this game. I don't have all the answers. Just then, this past month was crazy. We just came off hiring our 8th person in 5 weeks. Yeah. And and trying to figure this out and navigate this, how to make it a little even simpler, gearing up for this next phase of growth. Fine. Well, how do we change the system? How do we do that? Yeah. And it's all like we have to be ready for that. And I think that's something that getting in, whether it's masterminds or mentorships, or even just having those close people like we have with our group, is like that's invaluable. Like it's invaluable. So if you're trying to do this alone, don't. You have to find at least somebody there. And so, it's like, and then are you wired a little bit different? I think every business owner who's been in business that long is probably wired that way. Yeah. A little bit in their own right. You are too.
No, I agree.
There's
definitely something wrong with me too. Yeah. But what I'm getting at is like, because you and I joked before, like, what would you tell somebody that wanted to run the athlete adult model? And you joked like, don't do it. Yeah, don't do it. Yeah. But I really think, because everyone's always looking for like a cheat code or whatever, I really think with that model specifically, there is no workaround to the level of work, strategy, and effort that you put into it.
Yeah.
Would you agree that, like, if you're going to do it, expect to be the hardest person, hardest working person, and
and you can't do it alone, and you need about another three, at least three. We have a lot of facilities now, but you need that 2 or 3 reliable people that are in it, and they're in it.
Yeah, but
and that's hard to do. It's hard to do.
Coming out of the gate, like if somebody's listening and they want to pursue this model, in the beginning, I think it's just relentless work.
And then it's that aggressive patience and have that, like, all right, I'm going to build this. I'm going to do it the right way. I'm going to do it in phases. And I know along the way I'm going to need people to help and own this. And when that person comes along, I'm going to figure out how to keep them, and how to keep leading them while also growing and expanding the business. Yeah.
Well, Mark, I think we had a lot of value exchanged on here. Any parting words that you want to share with anybody? If anybody wanted to reach out to you.
Again, I'm pretty under wraps, but I'm at Meathead Mark on Instagram. You can send me a message on that. Mark at powerstrength.com. MarkEhnis.com, which is under.
I know you don't do much consulting. You consult your own companies. Is there any? You offering anything?
We do some. A little more seasonal. We do it with people that are a certain level, and that are ready to really execute.
If somebody wants to make a big investment in their future and their career, you'd probably set a time for them at some point.
Yep.
All right, Mark. Thank you.
Thanks, Deb. Appreciate it.